You saw the headline $325 million, but here's the twist. His first MLB inning, 5 runs in Seoul. How do you go from that to World Series MVP in 18 months? This is Yoshinobu Yamamoto's edge of the mound redemption. We'll track the bullpen routes that hardened his tempo, the splitter that travels, and the choices that let him throw 96 pitches one night and close Game 7 the next. If you want to know how modern workloads were just redefined, you're in the right place. He arrives as a first overall pick in 2016, makes his pro debut at 19 in 2017, and then the role flips. In 2018, the starter label comes off and the bullpen door swings open. It sounds like a step back, but in practice it was a tight focus course in stress, rhythm, and finish. Short stints sharpen the work. Every outing starts hot. Every pitch matters. Now the identity tug begins. Starters live on routine. Relief is chaos by design. The risk is real. You lose the cadence that builds length. But the upside sits right there. Live in leverage, face the heart of orders, and test your out pitch when the count tilts against you. In those innings, his fastball jumped, the splitter got mean, and the pulse settled. He logged 60 appearances with a 2.10 ERA and became the youngest player in league history to stack 30 holds. That's not a trivia note. It shows the timing, control, and calm needed to strand traffic with nowhere to hide. High leverage trims your habits down to only what works. You learn how to sequence for the last swing, not just the first strike. You figure out what plays when the crowd swells and the strike zone feels small. Short bursts demand a tighter command band. Miss by an inch and you see it on the board, and the bridge between starter and closer needs a firm edge. Think of it like learning to drive on a winding road before stepping on a highway. Once you can hold the lane there, the straight line feels simple. By 2019, the move back to starting shows the lab paid off. The line reads like a clean translation. 21 games, an 8-7 record, 133 strikeouts, and a 1.99 ERA that led the Pacific League. Those aren't just numbers, they're proof that the relief tour didn't strip his base. It added finish to it. He carried the late inning calm into the first, the second, and the seventh, and the strike throwing held when fatigue tried to blur the edges. How do you convince scouts you're the best in the world without an MLB pitch thrown? You leave no air in the argument at home, month after month, until the debate sounds stale. The switch flips in 2021. The line is dominant end to end. League-low ERA, a mountain of strikeouts, and the big honors that come with it. The Sawamura Award, the Triple Crown, MVP-level chatter that drowns out doubt. It wasn't noise. It was a system working at full force. The delivery you saw in high school now scaled to pro pace with zero wasted effort. He hit edges, stole early strikes with shape, and finished late with conviction. Every start looked like a plan he trusted. But the question loomed, like it always does with stars in Japan. Does that level carry across? The league gap talk follows every ace who stacks wins in NPB. Velocity bands, ball specs, travel, scouting depth, those are real walls. To understand why those walls didn't hold him, you look at how his arsenal stitched together and how choices under pressure kept hitters in two minds. By 2022, the package is complete. He throws a no-hitter on June 18th against the Saitama Seibu Lions, one of 4 no-hitters in NPB that season, and still keeps the throttle even for the long haul. The record lands at 15-5 with a 1.68 ERA and 205 strikeouts in 193 innings. Another Sawamura Award. Another Triple Crown. That's production, but it's also pattern. Start with a fastball that rides at 95 to 97 and can touch 99. Pair it with a deceptive splitter that falls off late, and use a curve and cutter to change eye levels and speeds without tipping. The mix covers all lanes. Sequencing shows why it plays. Late in counts, he earns the high strike with a 4-seam that stays on plane, then drops the splitter below the knees when hitters are forced to protect. Early, he'll land a cutter or curve for a strike, save the outpitch for when the at-bat is most fragile, and keep walks in check. His NPB career rate sat at 2.1 per 9. That's how you deny momentum without chasing punch-outs at bad prices. Then 2023 turns the dial again. On September 9th, he throws a second no-hitter, this time against the Chiba Marines, becoming the first pitcher in NPB history with no-hitters in consecutive seasons. He secures a third straight Triple Crown and walks into the Japan series with the sense that every big spot bends toward him. Game 6 becomes the proof. A complete game with a Japan series record 14 strikeouts to even the matchup. The series doesn't fall his team's way the next night, but the stamp is there. Take the ball when it's loud, land strikes, finish the day. By now, the aura is part of the scouting report. Durability in big games, stuff that holds late, and a plan that looks the same with traffic or a clean inning. Labels like number. One pitcher in the world stop sounding like hype and start reading like shorthand for a profile that checks every box across roles and stages. Which is exactly why the next scene, the one that starts in Seoul, hits with such force. First inning, 5 runs. A record contract suddenly feels heavier, and the headline becomes a scoreboard. What you learn next says more about a pitcher than any press conference. It shows the wiring, how he reacts when the floor shifts under his feet. The Dodgers land him after posting, the deal the largest for a pitcher, and the debut comes in Seoul. 1 inning, 5 runs. The talk starts fast. Contact rates, command windows, high fastballs that don't quite clear barrels. Different ball, different seams. Strike zone edges called tighter than he's used to. Travel that snaps the routine. Hitters who won't chase unless the tunnel holds from hand to plate. In this league, misses above the belt pay a tax. So he goes back to base. Tempo first. Land the heel, clear the arm, hit the glove. Command, not reach, splitter depth, not hope. The next start tells you the adjustment is real. On April 6th against Chicago, he earns his first MLB win with 8 strikeouts and 5 scoreless innings, allowing only 3 hits, then retiring the last 10 batters he faces. Cleaner release. Better fastball to splitter tunneling. The shape matches the intent. Early, you can see the tweaks in the small things. Shorter time between pitches to hold rhythm. Fewer waste pitches below the zone until he's set up the chase. First pitch strikes that don't live middle. A curve flipped in even counts to steal breath without risk. It looks simple on the surface, but that's the craft. Change the order, keep the look. Then the pause. On June 15th, he hits the injured list with a right rotator cuff strain. That's not just time lost, it's the threat of rust on timing cues. On July 13th, he moves to the 60-day injured list. Rehab becomes its own game. Shoulder strength, scap load, arm slot consistency. Film, dry reps, and trust that the feel returns when the lights do. He comes back on September 10th. The line to the finish tells a steady story. He closes the year with a 7-2 record, a 3.00 ERA in 18 starts, and 105 strikeouts. Not loud, effective. That's the course correction a staff values in a race where every week shifts seating. The lesson for you. Stability is a weapon, and it often hides in small wins. October tests that idea fast. Game 1 of the division series on October 5th goes the hard way. 5 runs in 3 innings to San Diego. The noise returns, but the second turn on October 12th flips the tone. He picks up his first postseason win with 5 scoreless, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, and he retires the last 7 batters he faces. The plan holds under lights. Early strikes, splitters only after climbing the ladder, traffic handled without panic. That's the mini payoff. Through the door. The league-to-league shift no longer an unknown, the shoulder answering the bell and the rhythm back on time. Now the calendar changes, and the habits built in NPB, tempo, command, conviction, move from theory to exam. The postseason becomes a study in workload, guts, and adaptability. And it starts to reshape what a modern starter can be when the count, the crowd, and the clock all press at once. How do you turn one rough debut into a season a manager hands you on opening day? You stack quiet wins. Day after day, pitch after pitch, until trust isn't a headline. It's a habit built on the calendar. 2025 starts with that signal. He gets the ball for Game 1, then rolls through April so clean he's named National League Pitcher of the Month, posting a 1.06 ERA across 6 starts with 43 strikeouts in 34 innings. The All-Star nod follows. That's not hype. It's the league saying the tape matches the reputation, and it sets the bar for everything after. The question shifts from can he adjust to can he carry the full load with swing and miss while every scout rewrites the plan? Here's why the answer turns yes. He leans into first pitch strikes that live on the black, not middle. He raises the fastball window just enough to force eyes up, then drops the splitter under that same line. The goal isn't chase for chase's sake. It's to make the hitter choose wrong early, then defend the corners late. The numbers tell the shape of the work. He finishes with a 12-8 record, a 2.49 ERA, and 201 strikeouts over a career-high 30 starts. That's durability with bite. Walks trim down because edge command tightens, and pitch economy improves because early count contact comes on his terms. Think of it like good commuter driving. Hit greens, avoid hard stops, get further on the same tank. Mid-season starts show the process in motion. He moves faster between pitches, holds his slot, and funnels swings into harmless grounders in the first 2 pitches. Weak contact early buys him oxygen late. When the count stretches, he doesn't chase the put-away. He earns it with the latter fastball, then flips the split beneath a guard that's already high. The curve and cutter steal cheap strikes, saving bullets for the 5th and 6th when lineups see him again. Managerial strategy responds. When his pitch count sits under about 15 per inning, he earns a longer leash. That trust isn't blind. It's built on steady velocity bands, steady splitter depth, and misses that live off, not over. The bullpen feels it. On his day, relievers plan for light work or targeted matchups, not triage. That changes how a staff breathes through a series. He becomes the metronome of the rotation. Teammates shape their rest around his turn because the rhythm is reliable. 6 to 7 innings, tempo on time, traffic managed without flinch. The club reads the schedule and can block out bullpen stress 2 or 3 days in a row because his outing sits there as the fix. It's a quiet power, but it shapes how a season holds together. By September, the profile is clear. He's not only adjusted to the league, he's edited it to suit his strengths. Fewer free bases. More swings at the wrong height. A plan that looks the same with a runner on second as it does with 2 outs and nobody on. When you see 201 strikeouts paired with a 2.49 ERA, you're seeing a pitcher who wins the pitch before he throws it. That's the mini payoff. Optimized, not just adapted. And now the calendar flips to the only line that matters: October. Modern baseball says starters don't finish games. In 3 weeks, one arm ignored that rule and rewrote how a contender manages October. Here's why it worked and what it teaches you about the new workload math. Start with the line: 37 1/3 innings, 33 strikeouts, a 1.45 ERA, and multiple complete games in one postseason. That's not noise. It's a pattern of efficiency, shape durability, and choices that hold under stress. When the stakes rise, pitch count and pitch quality often split apart. Here, they move together. The tension sat right in the middle of the modern argument. The third time through penalty says, pull early, but his late inning stuff held shape, velocity barely dipped, the splitter kept its drop. Command tightened when most arms fray. That's the lever that flips the decision from spreadsheet caution to trust. The data you needed showed up on the gun and in the dirt. Fastballs in the 7th still lived in the top of his band. Splitters landed just under the zone without yanking offline. Misses missed small, and the walk avoidance told its own story. He could live on the edge without giving freebies. That's how you protect an outing's back half. Manager strategy shifted with it. Instead of quick hooks to play matchups, the dugout let him guard the bridge himself. Keep him in, save 2 relievers, and reshape the series for tomorrow. That choice only happens when the pitch shapes stay honest and hitters fail to lock timing. It was a quiet bet that paid off twice. You saw the approach change inside the game too. Early, the mix leaned on 4-seam and splitter to draw a clear north-south lane. Late, he added more cutter and curve to avoid a predictable tunnel. That tilt removed repeat looks and forced bats to defend both edges. Think of it like changing lanes on a freeway just before a merge. You keep traffic behind you instead of beside you. Catcher sequencing backed the plan. Elevated 4 seams at the letters stole called strikes and forced eyes up. Then a forkball or splitter fell below that plane when hitters had to swing. The rhythm bought easy outs in the middle innings and saved the power pitches for the end. That is how a pitch count stays friendly without cheap contact in the middle. Teammates started calling it Iron Man. Opponents called it inevitable. The vibe in both dugouts matched the logic on the card. When the 7th arrived, he still looked like the 4th. The mound tempo stayed quick. The arm slot stayed true. And the scouting notes you'd expect to age out by the 3rd look never did. This is the mini payoff. He made an old-school workload feel current by pairing efficiency with shape durability. The velocity stayed live late. The splitter's depth stayed steady. The command band tightened under noise. It wasn't a stunt. It was a repeatable plan built from months of pitch economy and years of rhythm. That foundation sets up the wildest move of all, how he moves from a full-load Game 6 into a do-or-die Game 7, and why the door even opened for him to take the ball again. How do you throw 96 pitches in Game 6 and still take the ball in Game 7? Here's the edge that made it plausible, not hype. A set of habits, a plan for the body, and a mind that stays on time when the season's last outs need a home. The World Series lands against Toronto. Game 2 is the tone setter, a complete game that tells both dugouts the clock can run on his pace. By Game 6, the staff still treats him like the reset button. The call is simple: work deep, buy the bullpen rest, and keep the board clear enough that tomorrow stays in reach. He does his job and empties the tank, logging those 96 pitches without losing slot or tempo in the late innings. Now the tension. After that kind of load, fatigue risk spikes. Day 2 arms often wander. Command drifts. Adrenaline tries to drive, which is the worst driver for fine motor tasks. Every pitch becomes a test. Does the ball leave on the same rail? Does the brake hold? Do misses miss small? Most teams won't even open the door. The Dodgers did. He suited up for Game 7 as a relief option. That decision grew from a recovery routine built for short turnarounds. He used contrast bath cycles to flush, then reprime. Breathing work to lower heart rate and get the shoulder to settle. Soft tissue and band work to light the scap without chasing heat. Those NPB multi-inning habits, throw, recover, throw, gave him a template when most starters are shut down for 3 days. And when the call came in extra innings, the cues were simple. Fastball up, split off it, keep the pace tight, trust the catcher's first look. He entered and delivered 2 2/3 scoreless, holding shape on every lane. The last frame carried the same rhythm as his first warm-up toss. He finished a 5-4 win in the 11th, with the ball still alive at the top and the kill pitch still dropping under bats that had to swing. The reaction inside the room told you what the choice meant. The Dodgers' reliance on starting pitchers, including Yamamoto, in Game 7, rather than the bullpen, underscored the team's confidence in his ability to perform under pressure and secure the championship. It was a bet on process, not adrenaline. When a club hands a starter the last outs on 0 rest, it's because the shapes and the heartbeat are more stable than the matchup tree. The tally that followed was rare. 3 World Series wins in one series linked him to a short, elite list from the early 2000s. The work tracked is clean, no blow-ups, no walks that broke innings in half, and an ERA that barely picked up a smudge despite the ask. The award matched the tape. World Series MVP, the first Japanese-born pitcher to claim it, earned in the most public moment the sport offers. That's your mini payoff. The plan held on both days. The arsenal, 4-seam ride, late fall split, shape-stealing cutter and curve, gave him lanes to attack. But the mindset, the one that let him say yes in a moment most would decline, made it stick. Now let's open up how that mix plays in any league and why hitters kept choosing wrong. What if I told you the reason his stuff worked on both sides of the Pacific wasn't mystery at all? It was shape, speed bands, and trust. To understand why hitters kept swinging wrong, you start with how each pitch fits the others, not as solos but as parts of the same song. The base is clean, a 4-seam that sits mid to high 90s and can touch the top of the band. A splitter, more fork than fade, built to fall late. Plus a curve and a cutter that stay honest in the zone. The point isn't raw speed, it's how those speeds stack so the eye can't settle. Here's the tension. MLB hitters spit on chase pitches. If the tunnel gives the trick away, the pitch dies before it reaches the plate. That's where release consistency earns its keep. His fastball and splitter leave from the same window and ride the same track long enough to fool the first move. By the time the hitter reads drop, it's too late. That's the engine behind the mix. The 4-seam holds plane at the letters and draws the swing decision up. The splitter starts on that rail, then loses lift under the barrel without drifting arm side. Same look, different end. It's like 2 exits off the same ramp. One stays straight, one peels under, and you don't know which you took until the sign flashes past. Command makes it playable. Walk rates near 2 per 9 show a pitcher who can test the edges without paying the free pass tax. That kind of control matters more when lineups cycle fast and scouting notes grow long. You can challenge in, nibble away, and still keep counts in your favor. The late count example shows the logic. Go letter high with the four-seam to force eyes up. Then, when the hitter must protect, drop the splitter just under the zone. It becomes a forced decision. Watch strike 3 or chase a ball that looks like a strike until the final blink. Either outcome serves the plan. Early in the game, the curve and cutter do quiet work. They steal called strikes without showing the ace cards. A front door cutter on a corner or a curve flipped for get-me-over keeps the count even and the at-bat short. Those small wins save bullets, so the outpitch can stay fresh when the order turns over. Release and posture keep the tunnel intact. Head still. Slot steady. Finish over the front side. The ball leaves on repeat, which means shape changes, not tells. Drive the choice tree. That's how you hide intent when bats get your third look in the sixth. Pressure reps from the global stage build the conviction behind the choices. Tournament innings where a single mistake swings a medal teach you to throw your best pitch when the count hurts and the crowd swells. The moment doesn't change the plan, it confirms it. Put it together and you get a mix built for playoff stress. Speeds that separate, shapes that share a window, edges attacked without free traffic. It was teachable, repeatable, and mean only when it had to be. And that unlocks the bigger question. What this resume at 27 says about where pitching is going, and how a career can link tradition with what wins now. Two megastars from Japan on one roster changes more than a lineup card. It shifts how a team plans, how a league sells, and how a clubhouse breathes through stress. To understand Yamamoto's rise in that space, you start with a global test he'd already passed, gold on the big stages, where a single mistake can flip a medal. He entered MLB with proof under pressure, not a promise. The tension in a pairing like this is real. Star gravity can warp expectations, push a new market to demand highlights on command, and stack brand noise on top of game work. The question is whether that pressure tightens a routine or tears at it. Here's why it tightened. The shared language, the shared training habits, and the support network around them cut friction. Travel feels shorter when your prep doesn't change. Media days feel lighter when you split the lens. The partnership works like a metronome. One star hits and runs, the other starts and closes. Different lanes, same standard. The message inside the park is simple. Play clean, repeat your cues, win your matchup. Greatness stops being a headline and becomes normal work. That steadiness matters when schedules get wild and every town brings another sellout. Marketing pulls crowds and turns road trips into events, but the clubhouse effect is quieter. The duo sets the day's pace without speeches. Early stretch starts on time. Film work has a point. Bullpen sessions and cage work stay on task. When the best players treat routine like a craft, the room follows. You see it in small choices. How young arms ask about grips, how veterans tweak scouting cards to match his sequencing. As for bold workload calls, a steady manager and veteran voices backstop the risk. When they choose length in October or let a starter hold the bridge, it's not a stunt. It's a read on shape and heartbeat made by people who have lived both sides of the line. That mix of trust and restraint lets a plan breathe without losing control. The bigger shift sits with how teams view Japanese aces now. The old transition tax that once padded expectations gets smaller when skill sets like his arrive ready to win the strike zone on day one. Clubs start to bank on command, pitch shape, and between-pitch tempo translating fast. That change isn't about hype. It's about what holds under stress across leagues. For you, the takeaway is simple. The global path isn't a detour. It's a second proving ground that sharpens conviction and tests repeatable habits. When those habits land in a room built to support them, the ceiling rises. The fanfare at the gate might make the headlines, but the work between the lines creates the wins. Here's why it matters going forward. A roster that blends two top-tier stars from the same baseball culture can carry expectations without folding under them, and it can set a standard the rest of the clubhouse copies. That's how a talent becomes a connector. Yamamoto turns into the thread between two baseball worlds, a style born in one system and perfected in another. So what does his resume at 27 tell us about where pitching is going next? At 27, the resume reads like a blueprint. 3 NPB Triple Crowns, back-to-back no-hitters, 2 World Series rings, and a World Series MVP. The model is clear. Precision first, elasticity second, fearlessness always. That's the standard you copy if you want October to listen. If you value the craft behind clutch, subscribe for more deep dives and tell us which moment proved he was built for Game 7. Consider this. What is the single most defining clutch moment in Yoshinobu Yamamoto's career that you will remember most? The next shift isn't velocity. It's who can hold shape in the 10th on 0 rest. Who's next? If you like this video, like and subscribe for 1,000 years of luck.